as well.
Tax and customs.
Tax and customs. He's the tax and customs expert. So sometimes clients come with complex structuring, including from a tax efficiency perspective, and we help them out. So we prepared this presentation. Tomorrow we're running another one for the UAE. Like Zain said, we've been around for many decades as a firm. We have an office, our hub office is in Dubai. Then we've got Jeddah, Riyadh, Khobar as offices, as cities we cover. We've got New York, and we're launching in London. We have there our brochures, focused on our oil and gas capabilities if you want to know more about us. So today, we prepare these presentations. We're covering, or try to cover, as many aspects as possible within a sort of short time frame. I would probably skip, and everyone interested in receiving this presentation, just take one of our cards and we will email you this presentation. Just quick question, like who is, I know you are based in Saudi, you are based in Saudi. Are you? Not yet? Yeah. Are you based in Saudi? Do you have plans to? No. Okay. Okay. You, sir? China. Do you have operations in Saudi? No. You're just interested in the market.
Yeah.
You are possibly thinking. Yeah. Okay. Well, just to give you, we have prepared a few slides about the KSA economy. We won't bother you with that. Just to put things into perspective, Saudi Arabia's economy is worth approximately 0.8 trillion a year. Italy is slightly over 2 trillion. France is 2.7. UK is 3 trillion, and Germany is about 4 trillion. So this is just to put things into perspective about the size of the economy. It's a G20 country. It's the 20th country of the G20 pack, and one of the countries with the higher rates of GDP growth projected over the next few years. And also to put things into perspective as far as the oil and gas industry in the region is concerned, I don't know how many of you do business in the UAE, but if you think about ADNOC as covering approximately 70-80% of the think about ADNOC as covering about 70-80% of the oil and gas sector for the UAE. Yeah, you gotta understand that in Saudi, Aramco produces the production is 3 times the daily production of, or the maximum production, the maximum capacity of ADNOC. So the economy is pretty massive. Okay, so how do we want to go about it? We have, like I said, Aramco pumps out nearly 12 million barrels a day with projected investments to increase this production to 13 million by 2027. And again, ADNOC is currently hovering around 4 million a day, with intention to increase up to 5 million by 2027. We have a friend from Aramco. Please, I took this from your website. You are also based in Saudi or thinking about? Sorry? Okay. All right. Okay. You're thinking about tapping it to the market? Okay. All right. So, okay. What to say about the oil and gas sector of Saudi Arabia? Aramco, which is the state-owned oil company, since 2015 has introduced a program called In-Kingdom Total Value Add, which is the acronym of which is ICTIVA. And effectively, what it is, it's a localization program for companies to come set up their manufacturing business in Saudi Arabia to produce their goods locally, whether by way of an assembly or proper manufacturing. It seems like they're pretty flexible on the type of investment companies are required to make. But really, it's only after COVID that we are seeing this program taking momentum. And as a result, we're seeing Aramco, due to a wider political agenda in Saudi Arabia, pushing companies towards localizing their production in Saudi. And we are seeing, as a firm, we are seeing, and we get quite a few instructions every year about companies that are already doing business with Aramco that now will set up in or have to set up in Saudi Arabia to continue to do business. What the ICTIVA program is, it's basically it's a formula, effectively, which reflects the local spend of companies in Saudi Arabia, whether by way of, for instance, training and developing Saudis, employing Saudi nationals, buying locally from the supply chain. Because you came at the right time. Yeah. We are not qualified to advise companies on this formula, because this is stuff for auditors to advise companies on. But effectively, Aramco changed their procurement process to introduce a step, which is basically the ICTIVA score, such that companies now bidding for contracts with Aramco are being assessed not only on the technical and commercial bids, but also on their ICTIVA score, i.e., that is the local spend that they have in Saudi Arabia. Has anyone got any question? No?
I can hear you.
No question? Okay. So,
your slide after this?
we can make this presentation more or less interactive now. If you have any questions about, for instance, setting up in Saudi, we can talk about it. If not, we'll fly over our presentation and the main considerations to set up a business in Saudi. And then we have a booth in Hall C, in this hall, like right there, right behind this booth, we have a stand. So if you want to know and have more information, we can deep dive at our booth. Okay, so setting up in Saudi has been made easier compared to, let's say, 10 years ago. Like I said, I've been based there for about 12 years. Actually, yeah, more than 12 years. So, I've seen the evolution of the incorporations, the acquisitions, and the joint ventures. About 10 years ago, it used to take us about a year to incorporate a company in Saudi. Now it takes less than 3 months to incorporate. One of the things you'll have to be mindful of when setting up is the post-incorporation phase. I'm not going to go into technical here, but remember, your company is not fully operational until your post-incorporation phase is over, okay? And that takes time, or may take time. Having a joint venture partner helps in these situations. When you do a greenfield company, whether it's fully owned or a joint venture, you have to factor in a good 2 years in order for your business to ramp up. If you have a facility, if you have a facility to build, yeah, it typically takes 2 years, you know, with all the approvals, the plant approval from Aramco, API approval if you need it, and things of this sort. So plan well ahead of time. Obviously, for those who can afford it, and find a target, it's easier access to the Saudi market if you acquire an existing business, simply because it has or should have all the approvals in place, has all the certificates in place, and effectively it's a plug and play solution. Again, if you find the right target. One thing to say more on setting up in Saudi is nitakat. So nitakat is an Arabic word for Saudization. Basically, companies of all kinds and licenses are required to hire minimum number of Saudi employees. So that might impact your P&L, so plan ahead carefully. What else? Yeah, and also company maintenance, okay? Because the way Saudi these days, the administration of Saudi is being run, it's all gone online, it's all the systems and governmental authorities are linked to one another. So if you don't have your company maintenance done right, your company might block and be suspended. So that takes some effort there and attention. We've got 2 case studies. One is setting up through a joint venture, and another is setting up through an agent, effectively to do business with Aramco. Can you hear me? Yeah. To do business with Aramco, you either do business through a local company. So if you plan setting up your entity, that entity will have to be qualified by Aramco in order for that company to A, meet the ICTIVA requirements, and B, being able to contract with Aramco directly. Another way, if you don't want to do business with Aramco through a local company, whether fully owned by you or a joint venture, is you do it through an agent. Okay? So the agent will be your interface with Aramco. It's raining. Quite heavy.
Very nice.
We don't get much of that in Saudi Arabia. Sometimes we do. Okay, so what can I say about doing business through a joint venture company? Just a few pointers, really, because we want to try to interact with you, and Zain also present on tax and customs considerations. So JVing with a local player helps. Clearly, you need to choose the right player. Um, you can set up 100% your fully owned company also. If I'm not mistaken, because that doesn't have any real impact in terms of Ictiva score, right? To have no. So from that point of view, setting up 100% your own company or JVing through a local company doesn't make any difference, like from the standpoint of your Ictiva score. Exactly. As well, you can choose to set up like a full manufacturing line or an assembly line. When you JV, oftentimes what we see is that the foreign partner try to extract value from the joint venture company, for instance, by way of when negotiating the contracts. There are service agreements between the foreign partner and the local player. Sorry, the foreign partner and the new co, for the foreign partner to sell their services to their joint venture company, and that is a way to extract value from that JV co, in addition to the dividends, of course. Needless to say, just negotiate ahead of time your terms and conditions of the partnership. You can go more or less complex in terms of structuring from, let's say, a corporate standpoint. Some terms, contractual terms in Saudi Arabia are hardly enforceable, so you gotta be prepared there. There are workarounds, and typically what happens is if companies are already doing businesses with Aramco, but through an agent, the joint venture company will effectively take over the agency business. I think Zain, you wanna?
Yeah, let me go.
Does anyone have any question?
1, 2.
No?
Yeah, so hi everyone, from a tax and customs perspective, can you hear me clearly? There's just a couple of things that we need to talk about from a tax and customs perspective. So there are customs regulations and tax regulations in Saudi that are important to consider. I think, a lot of yeah. Thanks. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So as I was saying, there are a lot of customs regulations when importing into Saudi and a lot of tax regulations. In Saudi Arabia, we have tax at 20%, we have zakat at 2.5%. Depending on the profile of your company, you could be liable to zakat or tax. Zakat is a religious levy that's applied on Saudi or GCC nationals, and the tax would apply to foreign tax residents such as foreign companies, etc. I think we'll skip a lot, but where we want to show some value is in how tax would be applicable. So for instance, as an example, so let's say this is National Oil Co. and this is your KSA JV or through an LLC. There might be various tax and customs elements that might be important for you to assist you in making your tax structure most efficient. So, for instance, here there'll be a 20% KSA tax or 2.5 zakat. There'd be some withholding tax going out of it and dividend tax as well going out of it. The question is, when you have a contract with KSA, national company, what's the best way to structure your transaction with KSA national company, which is for instance Aramco, to ensure that you do not take pictures of the slides. No, I'm just teasing. To ensure that you get the best tax position out of the country and not overburden yourself on taxable status. So, for instance, in one area, we could have a local contract with the KSA Co, and we could have a contract with UAE Co or Training Co. So when payments are made outside from National Co, it's split between withholding tax payments and local payments. And then that allows you to get a higher amount of tax going out, allows you to get a lower amount of tax and have a bigger dividend going out to the country. Because you'll have dividend tax going out, you'll have tax for services going out, you'll have a local 20% income tax. The question then is, based on your potential structure that you'll have with either Saudi Aramco or any other company within Saudi Arabia, the issues are most importantly tax. As an example, you're in KSA with a JV, right? You want to now exit KSA. There's a capital gains tax there. We might be able to structure it so that you rather sell the shares here that owns KSA Co so that there's no capital gains tax. And it's used as a conduit to sell the shares here. Because if you sell these shares, there's a 20% capital gain, right? So in that regard, it's best to find a way to structure your agreement with companies as well. We've had cases where a merger fell through because of the tax element. Someone woke up and had too much tax to pay, and the deal went bust. So I think tax is going to become a very important consideration in Saudi Arabia. Obviously, when you come in, there might be customs duties that you could win from. I mean, Edoardo was talking about Ictiva. If you are manufacturing locally, you could benefit from customs duties. We've had many cases where oil rigs were coming into Saudi Arabia, and we've allowed for temporary importation of those oil rigs. Now imagine when you're putting 5% on a rig, that's a lot of money, right? When you're putting 5% or 10% or 15% customs duty on an oil rig, there's a lot of money. So you could have suspension regimes to assist you. You could have local manufacturing incentives to assist you. And so your best scenario will depend on how your agreement is with the Saudi company. And then again, obviously on the UAE side, we have something similar, but that will be for tomorrow's session. I think the main key point here is, as Edoardo says, plan. It's better to go into Saudi Arabia with a structure like this, or with a pre-planned structure, to ensure that your dividends and your profits and your services income is structured in a way that's best suitable to your needs and not to the tax authorities' needs. But like Edoardo says, if you guys have any other questions, if we sparked your interest, please come over to our booth. We have a lot of more things to tell you, but we'll leave it for now. Edoardo, all good?
But also, we can open the floor for questions and discussions if you have any question.
Any questions?
Any
all
answer?
Good?
Any answer? No?
No. Wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Our booth is over there on the other side, a whole C. So come swing by if you want to have a,
Further
another
discussion.
round. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.